Yes, the holidays, they are a time of joy, but it's also important to acknowledge grief, too. Many mourn the loss of a loved one this time of year, and the expectation to feel joy this Christmas can make the underlying sorrow feel even more transparent. Studio 5 parenting contributor Heather Johnson hopes to comfort those with tender hearts during the holidays. Welcome, Heather. Such a tender topic today. Why do you feel like the holidays, why is it harder during the holidays when we're talking about grief and mourning?
Well, the holidays are all about relationships, right? Number one. So we've got this entire season, a good couple months, that are all focused on the relationships that we build and have built with people. They're centered around memories. They're very much centered around connectedness and kindness and love and that gathering space, which are all pointing fingers at the exact things we don't necessarily feel we can have with people who we've lost. And so if we're not careful, we can find our minds going to this place of, well, great, now I have 2.5 months or 2 months where I'm just going to continually be reminded of who isn't here instead of who is. And it's hard. The holidays are really, really hard often when we've lost someone we love. It's challenging.
Everyone else feels the joy, it feels like, but you. Now, I'm interested in this. Is there a difference between grief and mourning?
There is. There's a difference between it. Grief is going to be the way we internally manage the pain of losing someone we love. Mourning is those outward expressions that we then enact when we lose someone that we love. So for example, grief is going to be the pain that I feel because my grandparents aren't here during Christmas anymore. Mourning is going to be the way that I honor or represent that. Like maybe I carry on traditions, or when we have a funeral, that would be mourning, right? And we rally people and we have support with that. Grief is also going to be something that's, again, not just individual, but it's going to be much more spontaneous, and that's why the holidays can be challenging. Grief is going to be triggered by something random, right? In fact, I don't have any grandparents left, and so at Christmas, there's always that tenderness for us in our home. And just this last week, I was driving and had Christmas music on after Thanksgiving, and a song came on that my grandmother loved, and immediately there's that trigger, right, where I miss her, or I'm sad that she's not around. So grief has that spontaneity to it where we're not quite sure at any moment it could show up and we could feel that pain. It doesn't work that same way with mourning. Mourning is much more structured. So it's again centered around things that we've planned or that we know we're going to carry out. There's also this individual aspect to grief where we suffer internally by ourselves. Mourning has a more community effect to it or impact where other people can know of that pain and we do things that help us celebrate with them or remind ourselves of them also. So there's a difference there, and it's important to have both. And the holidays kind of poke at both, right? We have that internal pain, but then we also have that outward expression going on at the same time.
That's so interesting. Well, actor Paul Rudd once said this when he was talking about the passing of his father. He said, when you lose a parent, the world is off its axis and it never rights itself. You either adapt or perish. And this season, you're gonna make sure we adapt so that when we have the loss of loved one, we can still enjoy the holidays.
Absolutely. So one of the first things that we can do to adapt is we've got to acknowledge that there is pain surrounding this. It's okay. We forget that love does not go away or shift or change or disappear with death. Love remains even when there's a death. And so to be able to acknowledge that the love is still there, to acknowledge that there is pain when we're not able to be with people that we love, we want to be able to say this out loud. So we want to accept it ourselves, and it's okay to acknowledge it with other people. In fact, it's even okay to take it with us through the holidays, that love we have for them and the longing, and let other people recognize that we feel that. It's okay to do that. And we have to start there. We have to start by acknowledging it.
Acknowledging it. It sounds so easy to do, but it's that heavy weight. Next one that is a little bit more tender to me is don't cancel the holidays. This can feel heavy when we come around to the holidays to just maybe ignore it altogether.
Absolutely, and we want to, if we don't even ignore all the holidays, there's oftentimes little teeny things we do during the holidays that we decide, I'm going to ignore that, I'm not going to do that, or I'm going to cancel that. One of the most challenging things we can choose to do is to cancel the holidays. Don't. We want to instead look at it as staying and going. And what I mean by that is we want to be able to participate and engage and be involved in everything in a way that allows us to make modifications so that we can negotiate it even though there's been a loss, right? So there's going to be some things that are going to be really challenging to do, and that's okay. We want to make modifications so we could potentially still stay involved. We want to have the holidays and also recognize that there might be one or two things that our heart might not be able to negotiate. So we might not go, or we might go for a shorter amount of time, or maybe we have someone else navigate it, but we don't want to cancel everything out altogether. The healing happens in allowing ourselves to still work to have those special events and remember them, and just make modifications so that we can show up. It's important.
I love that phrase, that the healing happens during those times.
It does. It happens when we find ways to make just enough modifications to still be present, to still involve ourselves in this holiday season.
Give yourself grace. Don't cancel the holidays.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
next you say, remember why you hurt.
Yeah, there's an easy place we fall into, which is, I forget why this pain is here. We feel deep pain because we've created a deep attachment with someone when they were living, and now they're gone, and we forget that. The pain is there because the love was so great. The sadness is there because we miss them so deeply, because the relationship was that important to us. Just remembering why we hurt helps us then focus on being so grateful that at one point in time, we had the relationship with a parent, or with a grandparent, or with a sibling, or children, or friends. And if we forget that, then we're just so caught up in the pain that we don't realize that it's there to tell us what we once had, and it was so good. So just that little reminder helps us be really, really grateful for it.
Okay, just a little bit of time left. The last two are ask the important question and serve others.
Yeah, so there is a question that we can ask that can help us deal with grief and mourning. And we're not with these people that we love during the holidays. We most likely have a ton of memories surrounding the holidays with them. But a really great question to know how to honor and respect them is to ask, how can I continue to have a relationship, for example, with my grandma, even though she's not here physically? And that's your key question. Imagine if all of us took just a minute to ask, how can I have a relationship with my, and fill in the blank, right, whoever you're missing, even though they're not here with me physically? And what happens is it helps us navigate the grief, the internal pain, but it also answers the question of the mourning, which is the external, the outward expression. So for example, I answer that question with my grandmother by immediately saying, well, I'm going to keep making caramels because I made caramels with my grandma every single year at Christmas, right? And so we hear that. How can I honor and still have a relationship with my grandfather who's not here physically? How can I do that? And I can immediately know where to go. So the great thing about the question is it takes care of the grief and the mourning, and helps us then know what traditions we can keep in place that can help us continue to have relationships with people we can't physically be with. It's a really easy access to help take care of both the grief and the mourning. And from there, we want to serve others. When we serve others, we heal through contributions. And so the more we contribute outwardly, the more the healing again happens for us internally. The other really cool thing about service is that it's this opportunity for us to take the qualities of the people we love, right? Again, I think of my grandparents who were so kind and generous, and think as I serve, I'm extending an arm of kindness and generosity that they instilled in me, or that they taught, or that I shared with them. And so again, it helps us to heal through those contributions. It's an understanding we don't always jump to first, but there is so much power in contributing outward and helping us heal inward. So it's just another way that we can go about navigating the holidays and remember those people that we care about more than anything.
Heather, so good. I think just this navigation of acknowledging it and then moving through these steps is so beneficial. Thank you so much. You can find Heather coaches family and individuals. You can find her information on our website, studio5.ksl.com.